A GM acts as a conductor of a symphony, or can be viewed as a coach of your favorite sports team, trying to keep track of the various things that are in motion, such as major plot points, creating opportunities for the characters to be in the spotlight, ensuring that the encounters are of the appropriate difficulty level, whether they should be easy or very challenging, knowing the rules, and so forth, all while directing the players in creating a fun and engaging environment. In today's video, let's look at the various things that GMs wish their players did and how the players can help the GM. A simple way that the players can help the GM is by sharing your creativity. And that is by having a backstory for your character. Now, I don't mean you need to go and write a novel, because that's going to be way too much for the GM and they're not going to have time to read that all. And not to mention, you need to make sure that your character and their backstory is in line and appropriate for how the GM is designing the campaign. But by having a backstory, this helps create plot hooks and customized quests specific for your character that the GM can utilize to further create a fun environment for you. An example of this is there was an elf by the name of Grayson, and after a recent war, he was on a quest to find what happened to his sister as she was missing, and that is an underlying plot hook for this character. Another we have is that of an individual by the name of Caesar in the universe of Battletech, where he was a skilled mech warrior, but he was running and hiding from a faction within his own government. So these are but simple examples of plot hooks that you can incorporate in your backstory that the GM would be able to use and build upon. Another way that you can help the GM is by exploring the world and interacting with the NPCs. For example, if the GM presents an opportunity for a quest, you and the other players should try to accept it. Now, it also falls upon the GM to present quests that would be appropriate for the campaign and for your group. For example, if your group is an adventuring group of paladins who are focusing on defeating an army of undead, going and stopping and planting a wheat field is probably not going to be a good side quest to distract them on, as that's not going to align with their goals and the mission and the theme. However, but you got to be careful, and you should also try to help when he does lay certain breadcrumbs for the quests. For example, maybe you're at a town and a fire breaks out and people say, help us, grab a bucket. Maybe your character shouldn't just be like, nah, I'm good. You guys can handle it. Or another one where the guards come running to the adventurers and the characters and say, please help us. We got an army of bandits coming and we don't have enough men. And maybe you shouldn't just be like, well, nah. How much you gonna pay me first? Oh, that's too low. You guys handle it, right? So obviously you play what is appropriate for your character, but there has to be some cohesion to try to work with the GM, with the story, and so forth. There's also this kind of interaction and feedback kind of helps the GM further understands of how they should progress the story and what are the things that you enjoy and what you're attracted to. Another way is, like I mentioned, of interacting with the world and the NPCs. Well, we had a situation where we were in line to try to get into a city, and there was lots of people there trying to get in. And our characters decided to talk to this family about what was happening, why there were so many people there, and gather information. And we heard about their plight, and we decided to have a conversation, give them gold, and encourage them. Well, because of this interaction and this connection, this family becomes a reoccurring theme throughout the campaign. We see them having to move from one travesty and disaster to a different location to constantly evade, and we help them from time to time and stuff. So it's a reoccurring NPCs and themes and stuff that helps with the connections, as we've seen with other things where the characters interacted with this particular cleric and how she wanted to help the people, and by interacting with her, helped her learn new powers and new spells to better help the people and rise in the ranks of the temple and stuff, which then in turn benefited the characters and allowed them new opportunities, new quests, access to new powers, and so forth. And so, as you can see, such simple things as interacting and working with the GM, with the story and the characters, helps makes it more fun and more alive. Another way that you can share your creativity and help the GM is by being a team player and collaborating with the other players. And what I mean by that is, if your character is kind of a lonely loner on a lonely road, but he's supposed to help save the world and stuff like that, because that is the theme of the campaign and stuff like that, then you need to help the GM and give some way, for that way your character is going to participate in such things, or pick a different character to run with. But as you see, these sort of things, to kind of have that teamwork effort to work towards these goals instead of just constantly going against the grain. Another fun way is share some of your ideas with the GM. Whether it could be something else, helping them design an NPC, or giving them ideas for like a location, a town, a city, a region, these different things that maybe they didn't flesh out in the world yet, but you could talk about it. One great example I had is that of a player sharing with me the idea of this particular order that they went, and they're basically monster slayers, and it's all about glory, and they all die young, but it is a glorious to think of, like Vikings and stuff like that, buff men going out there to go fight these monsters, and whoever can have the most pride and achievements, and that is what this order entailed. And so when they kind of shared that with me, I was like, oh, this is going to be great idea to incorporate this into the campaign. And they got to participate and be a member of this order. And it even led to the opportunity where they got to be the person in charge of the order. So GMs, lean upon your players, glean from their creativity. You don't have to do everything by yourself. And players, help your GMs, and you will make this game that much more fun and enjoyable for yourselves. So that's all that I want to share with you today. But next week, we're going to talk about some of the logistics on how players can, all other ways that players can help the GM. So that's it for today, and thank you for watching.